The upcoming G20 summit in New Delhi, apart from driving a consensus on issues of global importance, will also give India a chance to showcase its cultural heritage and diversity. Cultural events, retreat for spouses of G20 leaders are on the cards. I spoke to Information Broadcasting Secretary Apurva on what the G20 itinerary could look like.
In fact, that has been the objective of the G20 when it came to India, and that is what the Prime Minister has aspired and has, in a large way, we have succeeded in that, and now we are waiting for the final summit, that we take our message, we show what we have achieved to the entire world. And that is why all these meetings were held in so many cities, engagement groups were held, and the G20 delegates, when they came to the several cities, so it was to showcase that India is one and India is growing as a country. It is not just Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore and some of the metro cities which are a reflection of what is happening in India, but it is the entire country, all the states are developing, and that has been largely achieved. The working group meetings were held at various locations across the states, and the delegates who came, they were uniformly appreciative of the development which is taking place, and it is not just the development per se, but the culture, the cuisine, the textile, everything was on showcase, and they have been seeing that, and that is very visible in the appreciation and also the goodwill which it has generated.
Okay. I would also like to ask you, sir, about those 3 days, 8th, 9th and 10th. What kind of cultural experience are we going to be giving the G20 world leaders who are going to be coming to India? Anything special lined up for that period?
Ministry of Culture is having a special exhibition called the India, the Mother of Democracy, which will be in the ITPO complex near the Bharat Mandapam. Also, there will be a walkway where all the G20 countries, and from their side, it will be showcased, the cultural experiences of those countries will be showcased. Then, next to the media center, there will be a hall where the one district, one product. There will be several stalls where the products from various parts of the country will be showcased, and they will be available for sale also. Apart from that, the spouses of the G20 leaders, they will have their own independent program on the 9th, where they will be taken to, I believe, the National Gallery of Modern Art, and there will be some dance experiences, and apart from that, the textiles and other things which will be showcased and also be available for sale and other things. And also during the dinner, the main dinner, which is to be hosted on the 9th by the Honorable Prime Minister, for all the G20 leaders, there will be a cultural show, which will again be showcasing the entire country and giving a reflection of the country.
Okay. Would there be any kind of special retreat for the world leaders that the Prime Minister's office would be organizing? We've seen in previous summits, there has been a retreat of some kind or the other. Would something of that kind be organized during those 2 to 3 days?
The actual summit is on the 9th and the 10th, basically in 3 sessions. On the 9th, the first session, the inaugural, and there is one session, then another session in the afternoon, and 10th, the leaders reconvene at the same venue for the 3rd session, and thereafter the summit, the formal summit gets over, and then there will be bilaterals in between and also on the 10th.
Okay. Could you give us a sense of how those 2 days are going to pan out? How many meetings are going to be taking place, and what are some of the key themes that the world leaders would be discussing here in Delhi, sir?
The first session, initially when the leaders on the 9th, of course the 8th they arrive, but on the 9th morning, firstly they will go to the Rajpath, to the Rajghat to lay the wreaths at the Mahatma Gandhi Samadhi. Then there will be a tree plantation, and thereafter the inaugural of the G20 summit. Lunch again would be hosted by the Prime Minister there, and then the second session, and thereafter the 3rd session would be on the next day in the morning, and then the closure and the handing over to the next G20 country, the host of the next G20. And the dinner also will be hosted at the same venue, that is on the 9th at ITPO on the level 3, and it is again going to be I'm sure it will be a big affair.
Right. This has been the year of millets, and we have been showcasing our millet cuisines in in different G20 meetings. Could you give us a sense on what could be the menu for world leaders when they convene for dinner, lunch during that period?
I can assure you that millets will be a part of that. And of course, I mean, it will again be a showcase of the cuisine from various parts of the country.
Right. On digital public infrastructure, this is a very important theme in G20 discussions. Apart from debt restructuring, about reform of multilateral development banks, India has a lot to offer when it comes to digital public infrastructure. Would we also be showcasing some of our applications, some of our work at the G20 venue?
Yes, you are absolutely right, Parikshit, because there will be a digital public infrastructure showcase near the media hall, that is next to the hall number 5, and it will be showcased. And I can tell you that digital public infrastructure, it is one of the greatest administrative achievements of this country in the last 75 years. And that is something which we can now showcase to the world. And that is what we have done at all the working group meetings, wherever they have been. And there have been special sessions also, side events on digital public infrastructure. So many of the delegates have been invited, and in fact, when they go to the market, they themselves are amazed the way digital public infrastructure, UPI, is working in India, and you are able to make a payment at a click of a button on a phone. In fact, when you go to Europe and USA, you yourself would have known that when you come back, you have a pocket full of coins which you don't know what to do with. But here in India, we have made a totally different approach, and it is totally free. That apart, the targeting of the subsidies, the money which goes now directly to the poor and without any middlemen. So 100% of the money now reaches the bank accounts directly with again a click of a button, like PM Kisan. Prime Minister clicks the button, and almost 9 crore, 10 crore farmers receive 2,000 rupees into their account instantaneously. So that is a revolution.
Right. Also, what has been the biggest challenge in organizing a summit of this magnitude? We've never hosted so many world leaders together. Could you give us a sense of the key challenges that India will have to address during the days of the G20 summit, sir?
Security, and of course, is an issue because there are so many world leaders, there will be so many convoys. Then traffic management, that also is an issue. Availability of hotels for so many delegates, as you said, there will be press, there will be the delegates, there will be the heads of state, almost 8 to 10,000 foreign visitors we are expecting. So availability of hotels, then making all that coming together. So all that is a challenge, and but I can say with confidence that everything is done, and almost everything is now tied up. We are 99% there, and we look forward to the welcoming all our guests.
Right. Now, when you speak about 10,000 foreign visitors, the number of five-star hotels in Delhi NCR are limited. Could you give us a sense of how we are adding to that capacity? We also believe that state bhavans and some Airbnbs are also being roped in.
For the formal delegates, it is, I mean, the international delegates, it is the five-star hotels, and we have gone some to Gurgaon, some to Noida also. But press and others, they would be making their own arrangements.
Right. In terms of consensus, where are we with the G20 communique when it comes to our core agenda on multilateral development bank reform, on a common framework on debt restructuring, digital public infrastructure, cryptocurrencies? The Ukraine-Russia war is also bound to cast shadow on the G20 meetings. How do you think India is poised to have consensus?
India has taken up a number of new things in this G20 communique. Of course, we can't really be discussing the communique before it comes out, and even now, I think from 2nd to 7th, there are further discussions at the Sherpa level. All the Sherpas will be convening, and there would be a final round of discussions on the draft. Also on the economic side also, there will be a discussion between 2nd and 7th. So the final draft will come out only after that. But even in the working groups, as we have seen that the ministerials have happened, and almost all the working groups have ended with a consensus except on 1 or 2 paras. And those will definitely find a reflection in the communique. And India, as we know, has focused on the digital public infrastructure part, the mission life itself, the millets, then the anti-corruption measures, how the information can be shared amongst governments. So there have been so many new areas on which India has focused, almost 50, 55 new areas which will find a reflection in the communique.
Right. My final set of questions, Mr. Chandra. Now, when it comes to preparing for the G20, give us a sense of the number of bureaucrats, the kind of manpower that is involved to have the best summit on the 9th and 10th of September. Bureaucrats like you must be having sleepless nights right now.
It is a whole of government approach, and the entire government is working towards making the summit a success. So it is not just a question of one or two ministries. And in the working groups, almost 17 to 18 ministries were a part of that, and the ministers, the secretaries, the people below, everybody has been toiling very hard for the success of this summit. And now it is also at the field level. Now the Delhi police, the security agencies, the airports, the NDMC, MCD, now everybody is working together to make this summit a success and welcome the world to India.
Any advice to the public on those days? There are going to be security restrictions. Central Delhi is almost going to be cordoned off, but not for the media who's a credit for the G20 2020 summit. But what would be your advice for the general public at that time?
It is a one-of-a-kind international summit, so the public should bear with what is happening, and it is just a question of 2 days, and there may be some discomfort, but then it is for the good of the country and for taking a good image of the country to abroad.
All right, so let's see what happens at the G20 summit. Will India be able to achieve consensus on some critical issues plaguing the global economy? With that, it's a wrap on this edition of News Center. More news and updates continue right here.